Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of Wiggly Questions. Well, this is episode number 5 of Wiggly Questions, and we are getting through them, but rather slowly. I apologise for that. There's stacks and stacks of questions here. Some very, very good questions. And I'm going to start with this one today from Will Wiggle 51. Hey Greg, I've been a huge fan since I saw you in the Wiggles and have grown to love you as a person and artist. Oh, thank you very much. I would love to see your songs with any band you've been a part of. Elvis collection, Wiggles collection, remembering the lyrics, stories, or any rare items or clips, unreleased stuff as well. Okay, well, I'll see what I can do about that. I might be able to show you some of my Elvis collection one day. I do have some Wiggles stuff collected over the years, so I can show you some of that as well. So I'll keep that all in mind. But then Will Wiggle 51 goes on to say, tips in songwriting and some interesting things you learned at university. All of this and more I would love to see. Now, it's interesting that you've asked about that, Will Wiggle 51, because I actually intend on delivering a bit of a masterclass in writing songs and creating entertainment for children because, well, not a masterclass, I don't consider myself the master or a master, but it's information and knowledge that I want to pass on to other people because I think doing entertainment for children is so important and so valuable that if it's done correctly, that we can all together create something that's going to help impact children's lives in a positive way. And to me, that's really important. So stay tuned. If you watch to the end of this video, I'll have a little bit more information about that. So watch to the end. I'll speak a little bit about that later on. But Will Wiggle 51, a very good question indeed, and a very timely question to ask. So I'll move on now to... Now, I think it's Nye or Nay Shipman. I'm not sure on the pronunciation there, but a very simple question. Can you sing Big Red Car? Now, there are a few songs about the Big Red Car in the Wiggles. I'm not sure which one you're asking about, Nye or Nay, but I'm going to sing my favourite one, and that is Toot Toot Chugga Chugga Big Red Car. It's one that I had a hand in writing with Anthony. Probably not as much of a hand as Anthony had, but I'll sing that one anyway because it's probably the most popular and I think that's probably the one you mean. So, are you ready? Get your seatbelts on, everybody. Let's get on board the Big Red Car. Toot, toot, chugga, chugga, big red car. We'll travel near and we'll travel far. Toot, toot, chugga, chugga, big red car. We're gonna ride the whole day long. Murray's in the back seat, playing his guitar. Yeah, Murray's in the back seat of the big red car. Ah, toot, toot, chugga, chugga, big red car. We'll travel near and we'll travel far. Toot, toot, chugga, chugga, big red car. We're gonna ride the whole day long. Is that enough? That's probably enough, isn't it? Oh, well, you get the idea. You can see me doing it properly somewhere on YouTube, no doubt, with the Wiggles. In fact, you can probably click right here. My good friend Anthony Costa, is going to put a little thing here where you can click on that to go and watch the Wiggles with me in it, the original Wiggles, doing a version of the Big Red Car, probably live somewhere. But that's my version for now, just one verse about Murray. Murray's the most important Wiggle. He can play the guitar, you know, he's the music maker. So well done to Muzz. Moving on, Derek Barkus. This question is from the last video. Do the Wiggles have a vault, and what happens to concerts that are filmed but never released? That's a good question. I think I did refer to this in another video. Do the Wiggles have a vault? They do. I mean, it's not a real vault, but there would be stacks of stuff there. We did film a lot of concerts, and the answer to that question from me is that I don't know what they do with it because it probably just sits there and doesn't get released. I don't know. There'd be a lot of stuff that I never saw. So hopefully that's a satisfactory answer to your question there, Derek. This one is from Swan TV. Oh, thank you so much for sharing your answers to these questions, and thank you for being such a huge part of my childhood. I will always be a Wiggles fan. Well, that's not really a question, it's a comment, and it's very much appreciated. Thank you, Swan TV. I mean, it is the comments section after all. Fair enough to leave comments and not only questions. Now, Spencer Tony, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. My apologies. What's your favourite movie of 2017 or all time? Now, that is a very good question. Favourite movie of 2017? I reckon the only movie I've seen recently is The Greatest Showman, starring Hugh Jackman, who's an Aussie. Well done, Hugh. Great movie. Loved it. Enjoyed it. Lots of great songs in there. And my children are absolutely infatuated with it at the moment. I think we've seen it twice, maybe 3 times, I'm not sure, but they love it so much, and they're always on the internet, on YouTube, watching stuff from The Greatest Showman. And you can search for it too on YouTube. There's lots of great songs there from The Greatest Showman. But if you haven't seen it, I would recommend that you check it out. It's a great story. It's loosely based on the life of P.T. Barnum from the Barnum and Bailey Circus, from way back when. But it's not all factual. I think there's been some liberties taken, but the great thing about it is it's about somebody with a vision, somebody who has this passion for entertaining people and wanting to create a world of wonder and excitement. So I can relate to a lot of things in that movie, but check it out. You'll see for yourself. And just remember that it's about life in a lot of ways, and it's about chasing the dream and remembering what's real in life too, because it's very important to get the balance in life right. And I guess all of us from time to time are guilty of getting that balance a little bit wrong. So you always have to come back to reality. Reality is what matters. You can have dreams and you can have ambitions, but you've got to remember to keep your feet grounded. So, moving on to Nate Dogg's question. Hi Greg, my name is Nathan and I've been wiggling all my life. Well done. My question is, what is your favourite song from the original Wiggles album from 1991? Now, I must admit, I did glance through some of these questions earlier just to be a little bit prepared for questions such as this. I had to actually think, what on earth did we record in 1991? There's a lot of songs on that album. So I had to consider all the songs that are on the album before I give my answer. There's a lot of really good songs on there, but to me, look, I wrote a lot of Rockabye You Bear. I kind of brought it to the group to be worked on and developed. So I think that's got a special place in my heart, that song. But a great song, equally, is Get Ready to Wiggle, and also Dorothy the Dinosaur, the original one from 1991 that Murray wrote. That was Muzz's song. I just got to try and think about that song. Muzz wrote the lyrics to it, actually. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was actually a very funny story. Well, funny to me, because it's significant to me, but at that stage I was working for the Cockroaches as a roadie. Now the Cockroaches was a rock band that Jeff and Anthony were a part of, and just before we got together to start recording this album for the Wiggles, the Cockroaches had done a cruise on a cruise ship out of Australia called the Fair Star, and I was a roadie on that tour, and I bought this little Casio keyboard on that cruise because it was duty free, and I'd never had a keyboard before in my life. I'd owned guitars and I played guitar, but I knew how to play a little bit of keyboard. So I bought this Casio keyboard and it had all these pre-programmed rhythms and chord progression type things that you could do with it. And when we were sitting working on these songs for the first Wiggles album, I just started playing this Cockroaches song on the Casio keyboard, and it just so happened that the lyrics that Murray had written for Dorothy the Dinosaur fitted in with the scanning of this Cockroaches song. And I think, this is where I'm going to seem really stupid, but I think that was that song. The Cockroaches song was It's Another Saturday Night, and I was looking out my window late the other night. Yeah, that's the one. Yep. Just had to fact check for a moment there. So that's a little interesting story about that. It came about that those lyrics that Muzz had written were put to that Cockroaches song because of this silly little keyboard that I had, and we were just kind of mucking around and trying to get a melody for the song. And Anthony said, hey, that actually works well. That fits with that. So that's the story of how that happened. So Nate, I hope that gives you an answer to your question. Dylan Winters, hello Greg, I love the Wiggles, and you are still my favourite Wiggle. Said were. Maybe I'm not anymore, but then you said are. Still my favourite Wiggle, but I still love Anthony, Murray, Jeff and Sam. Great, that's good news. Well done, mate. My favourite Wiggle song is Toot Toot Chugga Chugga Big Red Car. It's a song that always reminds me of my childhood. So I have a few questions, and I have to click on the read more here to get the extra questions. Here we go. What was a song that you remember fondly from your childhood? Now that's a great question. Oh boy, this is one I should have looked at earlier to get a bit of a heads up on. So, from my own childhood, I don't know, there's a lot of songs that kind of stick in my head, I guess. You know, I had a school teacher back in year 1 and in year 2. I had 2 school teachers that played the guitar, and I think for me, talking about music and fond connections to my childhood through music, would probably be those moments of being at school and having a teacher bring a guitar into the classroom. That was really exciting. It was, I don't know, it just kind of made things seem, I don't know, don't want to say a lot lighter, but it brought fun. It brought excitement to the classroom, which was great. So I remember that connection to music. But there is a song, as I'm thinking through all the stuff about my childhood and music, there was a song that my grandmother used to teach me. I was probably 3 years old. It was called A Daisy a Day. And I did a version of this on an album that I recorded with the TCB band some years ago. And you can find it on the internet, actually, on this YouTube channel, I think. I think I've got it on here. So click here and you'll find it. If you can't find it, down below somewhere by scrolling or whatever you do on this thing that's called YouTube. It's called A Daisy a Day, and it's a beautiful song about an old man and an old woman that have lived their life together, and every day he'd give her a daisy. But then I've just got to think this through if this is correct or not. I think it's that the old lady passes away, and the old man walks up to the hilltop to her grave and still puts a daisy every day on her grave. And it's I think it's a touching song, and I guess it's got special meaning to me now. It's a song that, it's an emotional song, and because my grandmother taught me that song, it's probably a song from my childhood that I remember very fondly. So thanks for the question there. The next question Dylan has asked is, what was the writing process for Toot Toot Chugga Chugga Big Red Car? Well, funny you should mention that one because we just sang that a little bit earlier. And as well as other Wiggles songs, well, pretty much the same process really. So, somebody might have an idea for a song that they'd bring to the studio, because all our songs were pretty much just written in the studio. We had an album to do, and we booked the studio for a week or 2 weeks, and probably the first, well, it kind of changed a little bit over time. Originally, I think it started out that the first 2 or 3 days we'd sit down and we'd write the songs, and then we'd do the beds for the songs. And when I say the beds, I mean we'd kind of get the drums and the bass and the keyboards sort of locked down as to what the song was going to be and what the arrangement would be for the song. Then we'd sort of refine the lyrics to the song. We'd have a bit of an idea of what the song was going to be about, and this will be all in the masterclass that I'll talk about later. Well, not the masterclass, but the imparting of information and knowledge. So we'd sort of have an idea of what the gist of the song was going to be. Then we'd refine the lyrics. We'd make sure the lyrics all made sense, that it went to the point of the song. And then musically we would record the rest of the instruments. I'd do my vocal, the lead vocal, and then we'd have the backing vocals come in after that in the studio. So that whole process would probably take a couple of weeks to do the whole album, including the writing. Now, of course, there were lots of other songwriters that we would have help us out with songs, John Field being one, incredible songwriter. We used his songs from day one. Get Ready to Wiggle was a John Field song, and of course Another Saturday Night that I just spoke about, with Dorothy the Dinosaur being merged together. Another Saturday Night was written by John. I think Paul Field may have had a hand in that song too, in the Cockroaches version, so they might both be credited on the song, I'm not sure. So that's kind of the process. We just kind of brought ideas in, workshopped them. Yeah, it might be the case that somebody would have a whole song written, they'd bring that into the studio and we'd record it as it was. There was no need to refine it any further, but it really was a collaboration. So whether it was a song that John Field brought in, Paul Paddock, Dom Lindsay, whoever it might be, all the external songwriters that we used from time to time, we'd refine them, work on them together, and that would be it then. So we'd record them. Now, your third question, can you sing Scooby-Doo-Wah? I would love that. Now, I guess the Scooby-Doo-Wah thing came from, I think it was Quack Quack. I think the Quack Quack song. Scooby-Doo-Wah. Gosh, see, this is really testing my memory, guys. There's so many things about the Wiggles that you know about that I've forgotten, and I can't remember, but I think that's where it came from. I really should look at these questions in advance, shouldn't I, so I don't get caught out. But it's kind of good that, you're seeing me naturally trying to remember stuff. Scooby-Doo-Wah, and I'm just trying to think in the Toot Toot Chugga Chugga song. So Greg is doing the driving, singing Scooby-Doo-Wah, of course. That's where that reference is there, but I think it originally came from the Quack Quack song. Quack, 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 cock-a-doodle-doo, quack, 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 quack. maybe I'm wrong, but I seem to remember in the Wiggles movie driving down the road at this great location in Concord. It was an old hospital, and we shot a lot of the external scenes for the Wiggles movie at this hospital. And we did the Quack Quack song driving down this road. I think we were on the back of a trailer, and I seem to remember that the Quack Quack song has that Scooby-Doo thing in it. So please check that out and let me know if I'm going crazy or not. I'll have to check it out myself now that I've made a fool of myself, not knowing what on earth Wiggles songs are made up of. See, there's so many songs, so many things we did that I just can't remember them all. So please forgive me. Okay, so I'm going to move on now. Hope that answers your questions there, Dylan. Now, JG Cosmic Gamer says, hey Greg, my question is, what was your reaction when you and the Wiggles played at Madison Square Garden for the first time? Yeah, good question. Okay, well, that was pretty incredible. Now, I need to spell out here that when we played at Madison Square Garden, we played the theatre at Madison Square Garden. We didn't play the big arena. A lot of people think that we played the big arena, but we played the theatre. Now, the theatre held about 5,000 or 6,000 people, I think. The arena holds something like 20,000 people. So we played the theatre at Madison Square Garden. So technically we still played Madison Square Garden. And I guess that's the thing that the media sort of played up on that. They just said Madison Square Garden. And, you know, the truth be known, it was the theatre. So we did 13 sold-out shows in the theatre at Madison Square Garden. Each show held about 6,000 people. So 6 times 13, what's that? 6, 18, I don't know, about 80-odd thousand people or something. Is that right? So, something like that. Let's say 80,000 people, which is still equivalent to selling out the big arena 4 times. So it's not bad going, I reckon. So I guess, looking back on that time, we were blown away by the fact that we could come to New York City and play Madison Square Garden. Sure, it was the theatre, but we'd sold it out 13 times, and that was just like, wow. So it was pretty cool. I mean, there were so many times in what we did with the Wiggles that we were... You know, Murray used to call them pinch me moments, where we'd just go, wow, is this actually happening? I mean, we never, ever set out to achieve what we had. We had no goals. I think I've said it before. Our only goal was to create good quality entertainment for early childhood children, preschool children. And because we did that, because we were focused on that, it led to the success that we had. We always kept that in mind, that we had to... That's what I'm saying before about reality and dreams and ambition. Sure, have your dreams and your ambition, but do it in a grounded way. And that's what we did. But yeah, sure, we got to places like Madison Square Garden, or, you know, we did a show in Toronto one time at a big outdoor venue there. There was 10,000 people at every show there. We played in Minneapolis, some big arena there. We had 10 or 12,000 people. Toronto, indoors there at the, I think it's called the Rogers Centre now, or it was called that back then, but this big indoor stadium, we had 10,000 people there at that as well. So all of these things just kind of like blew us away. We were just so amazed that so many people knew about the Wiggles and wanted to come to our show. So we're very, very grateful to you guys for being parts of our lives as well. And the fact that we've touched you in a way that, you know, you're fondly remembering now as people that are older and have grown up with the Wiggles. So that's just incredible. Now, moving on to Starman Brinley or Brinley. Hey Greg, firstly, thanks for all you have done for myself and many others across the globe. Well, thank you. We just were talking about that, actually. I'm beyond the Wiggles age range, but was always a Greg Page fan. My question is, if there's any one song in history you would like to have written? Yeah, well, I don't know. No, look, I've never really thought about that, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. There's many, many great songs, and I wish I was a great songwriter. But I enjoy writing songs for children, and I'm very proud of the songs that I've written. So I don't really look at other people's songs and think, I wish I'd written that. I don't know if that's a disappointing answer to your question there, but it's the truth. I don't know. I just love being able to create things myself, and I don't look at other people's work and get jealous of it. So I don't kind of look at things that way. I mean, like talking about the Greatest Showman, the movie that I was just talking about before, there's quite a few great songs in that. And I really enjoy listening to the songs, but I don't think I ever have that feeling of, gee, you know, I wish I had have written that song. So there you go. I don't know. I hope that answers your question there. Hope it's not a disappointing answer to your question. So moving on to Green Day FTW, your question. Hi Greg, my name is Liam. glad I've got your name there. I like seeing your names, guys. Your screen names or whatever your usernames are. That's really interesting sometimes, but sometimes I can't make sense of it. So Liam, great to hear from you. And I'm from the USA. Now, before I ask you my question, I just want to start off saying you and the Wiggles were really a huge part of my childhood. Well, thank you for that. That's great to hear. That and you were my most favourite Wiggle, thank you, and still are to this day. You laughed there and I laughed as well. Okay, I have 3 questions for you. Oh, 3 questions. Okay, here we go. First question, what was it like filming the Wiggles movie? And do you have any stories from behind the scenes? Okay, so I think I might have answered, I don't think it was this one. Liam, if I've answered this before, I apologise to everybody, but I did answer something like this before in terms of what it was like filming the Wiggles movie. And I said something along the lines of that it was a different experience because it was a different mentality having to work on a film than it was just working on our own TV series where we were very much in control of it. So I know I've spoken about this before, so you might have to check out some of the other videos that I've done. I don't want to bore people now, so I'm not trying to gloss over this. I just can't remember if I answered this question or not. And do you have any stories from behind the scenes? I think I did answer this. I'm sorry, Liam. I may have answered this before because I remember speaking about the big red car going out of control and the guys were going, whoa! Out of all the concert DVDs or videos you're in, which one do you like the best? Yeah, I may have answered that. Yeah, I think I did answer this. I'm really sorry, Liam. So go back to one of my other videos and you'll get the answer to that one. Sorry for boring everybody if you've already seen the answer to that question. And this one here has come up a lot, and not just from Blues Clues and the Wiggles FTW Teen Titans Go FTL. I don't know what that means. Look, I'm old. I'm out of touch with today and what hip kids are doing and how they phrase things. But anyway, great screen name, I've got to say that. Question, do you have the Romp Bomper Stomp clip from 1997, 1998? Look, I probably do have it somewhere. I probably am not allowed to post it on YouTube, but it does exist. And I don't know why. I've seen people asking about it because it was seen in the opening for a TV series. So if it was in the opening, I'm pretty sure it would be in the actual TV series somewhere. It must exist because I've seen it. We did it in the studio as part of a video clip. I think it was in the Wake Up Jeff video. And I'm saying video because it was VHS back then. Was it Wake Up Jeff or was it Wiggle Time? I can't remember. No, not Wiggle Time. Gosh, I can't remember. We did it as a video, like a VHS. We also did it in the Wiggles movie. So it exists in 2 forms. There's a live version of it somewhere, at least from, gosh, if I could just remember the name of that DVD. Wiggle Dance? Wiggle Dance. It was released in Australia as Wiggle Dance or Wiggle Dancing, I think, and it was a live video. So it's somewhere around. Surely I'll do a search for it somewhere. It's got to be found on YouTube somewhere. If I can point you in the right direction, I will. Now, Tyler Armstrong says, hey, Greg, question for me again. What can you tell us about the Wiggles unreleased TV series in 2006? Now, I don't know if I answered this version of the question, but I have answered something about that 2006 one, which I think was called Wiggle and Learn, and the guys reshot it when Sam joined the group when I left. So there's an answer to that somewhere in another video, so you might have to look that one up. Now, Justin Amador, hopefully that's how you pronounce your name, Justin. Hey Greg, I just want to say you guys have been a huge part in my childhood and still a fan to this day. My questions to you are you a fan of any classic rock and roll bands? If you are, which ones? Look, yeah, I'd say I'm a fan of the Beatles. I love some of their songs. I love their sort of early stuff, the more sort of pop-oriented stuff. That's been a big influence. The Monkees. Who else? Oh, look, I guess the Rolling Stones have a place in my influences as well. That's probably it. I mean, look, there's a lot of bands that I might not be into and a fan of, but I certainly admire them. Like the Rolling Stones. I mean, they put on an amazing concert if you ever see them live. Man, we were lucky enough in the US to see the Stones. There was a tour that we did. We had a tour, I don't know, tour producer, I guess you'd call him. Jake Berry was his name. And he produced our tours and he produced the Rolling Stones, and U2. Now, what a combination, right? So he produced the Wiggles, the Stones, and U2. And it just so happened there was one time that we toured the US that the Wiggles, the Rolling Stones, and U2 were all out at the same time on tour. And that was pretty amazing for Jake to pull that off. That's a big, big effort. That's amongst everything else he did as well. I mean, incredible guy. So we were on tour and we were playing in somewhere in Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut. I think we were in Hartford and the Stones were playing in Bridgeport that night. Or it was the other way around, I'm not sure. I know the two towns were Hartford and Bridgeport. They were not too far from each other, maybe 40 minutes away. And so we finished our show at, I think, 8 o'clock, and we all got backstage, got showered and changed really quickly, got on the bus as quick as we could and drove straight to the other town where the Stones were playing because Jake had gotten us tickets. But we couldn't stay for the whole show because we had to drive to another town after that. So that's why we wanted to get there as quick as we could, make the most of it, because the bus drivers wanted to leave by, I don't know, let's say 10 o'clock or something like that. So we got to the Stones show, and I'd never seen the Stones live before, but it was incredible. I mean, full credit to Jake for pulling off this amazing tour, because he had some amazing ideas that he told us were his ideas of how the Stones could sort of have their stage set up. And what they did, they had people, you could buy tickets to more or less be on stage with the Rolling Stones. So he sold this standing room only VIP area behind the Rolling Stones. So the Stones are here playing to the crowd out the front, and here's all these people getting served hors d'oeuvres and champagne on this tiered scaffolding behind the Stones. I mean, great concept, Jake, well done. But you could just tell those people were having such a great time being behind the Stones. It was like they were part of the show. It was incredible. But the Stones themselves, I mean, so we're going back, well, this would have been 2005 maybe, I guess. What's that, 12, 13 years ago? And they were just incredible. So for that reason, another band that I reckon would do the same kind of show would be AC/DC. Now, I'm not into their style of music at all, but what they do really well. And to me, that's what makes a great band, when you do your style of thing really, really well. So U2, another example of that. So I wouldn't say I'm a fan of them, but I admire what they do, because I guess getting back to what I said before, like with the Wiggles, we stuck to what we did and we believed in what we did. And these guys do as well. The Stones, U2, AC/DC. They've been around for a long time because they stay true to who they are and what they believe in. And they just keep delivering and delivering and delivering. And yeah, we saw U2 live for the same reason, because we were in Seattle, Washington, and Jake had U2 out on tour. And so we got to see U2 as well, and that was incredible. So we've been very, very blessed. So I hope that answers your question there, Justin. All right, everybody, thanks so much for listening to Wiggly Questions Part 5. I do need to talk about this, actually. So the masterclass that I was talking about, I'm probably not going to call it a masterclass anymore. I'm going to call it a webinar. That's probably a better word for it. Because as I said, I'm no master, but I do have knowledge that I want to impart upon you. Because if you want to create content for children, we can do that together. We all have this platform now where we can create things, but we have an obligation. We have an obligation to make it the best that it can be. So, with your ideas and some of my input, we might be able to work together to help make a lot of content for children that's going to really help them engage with the world around them and help give them strong values. So, keep listening for more information about the webinars to help create children's content, because one day we might be able to open up a platform for you to have your content on My Kids TV channel here on YouTube. So stay tuned for that, everybody. That's coming up real soon. In the meantime, thanks for listening to Wiggly Questions Part 5, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye now.